Good morning. I wish I had a third hand. I could use a third hand, but I will fumble and find my way through this. Marlene, where did you go? Thank you so much for sharing that story this morning. I remember that May. I read that blog. My children grew up with those children as well, so it was wonderful to meet you, and thank you for sharing. And to Emily as well. I just love hearing the stories about what God is doing in people's lives. So thank you, Emily, for your story this morning too. I am Jenn Holbrook. Here we go, the Executive Director at the Pregnancy Center in Kitchener. Outside my work, I am a wife and a mom. I wanted to share a picture of my family too. My son got married in 2024. That's my eldest. And then I have 2 other children that are in university. I have been at the Pregnancy Center in various roles since 2010. I'd like to tell the story of why I came to the Pregnancy Center. It was actually in 2012 that we decided to become foster parents. We had 3 children of our own, and at that time, they were aged 5, 8, and 10. And we decided to add 2 little girls. We thought it would just be a few months while their mom got some help, but 3 months turned into 3 years. During that time, I was grateful to know their birth mom. Her name was Amanda, and she was struggling to parent her daughters in the way that they needed her. She shared about her struggles with addictions after her back was injured in a work accident. I never doubted how much Amanda loved her girls and wanted to get better. But sometimes her mental health was so bad that she failed to show up for our planned visits. And in these moments, I noticed how poorly the workers spoke about her. As if they were expecting her to fail. It really felt like no one was on her side. And in the end, she lost custody of these girls completely. They were adopted by a local couple, but my heart never stopped hurting for Amanda. It was back then in 2015 that I heard about the Moms Mentoring Program at the Pregnancy Center. So I joined, and I was paired with a young single mom who was deeply impacted by poverty and also struggling with her mental health and a new baby. I wanted her to know she wasn't alone and that I would walk with her. And this was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. Not long after, I was asked to lead the program and discovered that I had a deep passion for supporting young moms experiencing adversity. At the Pregnancy Center, we've grown a lot since then. We're a drop-in center in downtown Kitchener, providing practical resources and emotional support to anyone who is pregnant or parenting and in crisis. We serve women who are pregnant and not wanting or prepared to be. We also serve men who are parenting a child under the age of 4, but deeply impacted by things such as poverty, mental health, addictions, and trauma. We also serve refugees seeking resources and support. Some of you may remember when the Pregnancy Center was founded back in 1986. A variety of churches in this region came together with a hope to provide compassionate support for women experiencing unplanned pregnancies. It was just 2 years later, in 1988, that abortion became legal in Canada. Our work focused on providing life-affirming options for women deciding what to do about an unplanned pregnancy. There's many beautiful scriptures that come to mind that have deeply informed our work. You created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. In Jeremiah it says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Our work was also deeply informed by the 10 Commandments. You think of the 6th commandment, do not murder. These commandments showed the Israelites how to live as God's people after they had been rescued. Obviously, God cared about human life. These verses have deeply impacted our mission in providing life-affirming options for women. This year, we're celebrating our 40th anniversary, and sometimes people ask me, how has the mission changed over the years? Our mission of compassionate support for women has not changed, but it has expanded beyond decision-making support for a woman. Let me tell you why. When we reflect on the story of God, I can't help but notice what changed or surprised people when Jesus showed up. Jesus redefined kingship, didn't he? It was around suffering and sacrificial love. We learned also that his kingdom would come quietly, like seed and yeast, not with force or not with violence. The people of that day assumed it would all be about national restoration. But guess what? Jesus ate with sinners, and he welcomed women and children. He radically reshaped who belonged. Even the sixth commandment, do not murder, it moved from an action to an attitude. You've heard it said, do not murder. But I tell you, anyone who's angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. I love when Jesus came, that he expands our responsibility and he emphasizes relationships. He showed his heart for human flourishing. So it wasn't a surprise that God acted, because the people were waiting for it, they were longing for it. I think the surprise was how God acted. How God acted through the person of Jesus also deeply informs our mission at the Pregnancy Center. While he established a standard about life, as seen in the Old Testament, we also notice Jesus' deep care for vulnerable women and children. We love the account of Jesus in John chapter 4, Jesus and the woman at the well, or his kindness to the woman caught in adultery. The gospel, the good news, is also for the vulnerable and those on the margins. We see this in Scripture as well. Some more verses for you. Isaiah the prophet says, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. Jesus quotes from the book of Isaiah in Luke chapter 4 when he says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. What we've come to learn over the years is that the pregnancy is not the only crisis. Most often, the experience of being unexpectedly pregnant is often compounded by experiences of poverty, poor health, lack of education, trauma, and violence in families. It's often because of these realities that abortion feels like her only option. And for this woman, in these circumstances, the world doesn't appear hospitable to her or her child. You know, I believe Jesus would see all of it. Much like the woman at the well, Jesus saw all that contributed to her present reality. He cared about her past, her present, and her future. And we believe Jesus sees the hundreds of families who walk through our door every month. Those who are faced with impossible decisions like buying diapers or should they pay rent. How to move forward with a pregnancy they weren't planning or prepared for. And these families are often surrounded by other people who are struggling in all the same ways, with very few people who can offer any help. They're weary, isolated, and caring more than anyone can see. At the Pregnancy Center, we affirm that every life has profound value, created with purpose, and worthy of love. And at the same time, we recognize the complex challenges mothers experiencing adversity face, and we choose to respond with justice and with love. For that reason, as a Christian organization, we seek to be a a faithful presence in Waterloo Region. We care deeply about the woman not only in the moment of her decision or the 9 months of her pregnancy, we care for her well-being for the months and the years that follow. At the Pregnancy Center, we believe in creating a community where it's possible to actually continue with the pregnancy and thrive. Here's some fun numbers. In 2025, we had over 9,000 visits to our center for support. That's 650 unique clients that year. You can see the difference between 2001, where we had just over 2,000. We have experienced incredible growth. We run 3 client programs at the center each week. One is a mentoring program where we match low-resourced mothers with a trained mentor. We have a parenting program. It's a parenting education class. And then the third is a meal planning and budgeting program. This is where I can use against your hand. Yes. There you go. We have a variety of support services as well. We do one-on-one counseling or crisis support. We have free childminding so that moms can attend the programs. And then we have an intake and outreach process where we enroll new clients, discover what their needs are, and connect them to services not only at our center, but also in the community. This is one of our larger programs, our Basic Needs Support Program. This is where we provide families with a monthly relief package of diapers, wipes, food, formula, and clothing. When you look at the basic income for a single mother in our region, whether it's Ontario Works, their income would be about $1,700 a month. But when you add up rent, food, transportation, telephones, diapers, and formula, we easily exceed $3,000. While working or getting a job would seem like an obvious solution, the cost of daycare and the lack of daycare on evenings and weekends makes this very difficult for the women we serve. These families are stretched and they're stressed. We meet parents who water down formula to make it last longer or leave children in diapers longer than what's healthy. Over 650 low-resource families rely on us for this relief package every single month. Some people like numbers. I don't really like numbers. But interestingly, the numbers here just indicate how much it costs to have diapers for 650 families every single month. We compare it to what we were doing back in 2021, cost about $20,000. But now our budget for diapers alone is over $100,000 every single year. I'd like to tell you about a few clients who use our services. This is Mia, and she was referred to us from a local women's shelter. She came from an abusive family, and she had a profoundly abusive partner who was father to her child. She was unsafe, so she left, and she was living in a shelter. She was very unstable when she first came to see us. So we started simply by providing her with material resources: diapers, wipes, formula, food, and clothing. She was able to acquire a small apartment for herself and her infant son, and a member of our staff team had access to some furniture and was able to rally together some family members to set up and deliver some furniture for her new space. She was in a very delicate space. Mia attended our Connect program to meet other moms and learn some basic life skills. She had very little confidence and was barely keeping up with the care of her young son. Then she joined our parenting group on Wednesdays, and we so slowly saw a shift start to take place. She was learning how to respond to her son's needs without becoming so quickly angered or overwhelmed. She felt safe, and she continued to come out every single week. I've heard she's done all our programs now. She's done budgeting, and she's learned some meal planning skills. She has found belonging and hope, and is building a community of support around her. She's been paired with a mentor for ongoing support in the community. Her mentor drives her to appointments and brings her to group on those really cold days. And on Thursdays, they go to a church play group together. Every week, Mia is moving towards stability. And I think one of the most important things, though, Mia has learned at the center is that she's loved and that change is possible. As you may have noticed, our services are more broad than just pregnancy. We seek to be a faithful presence and a supportive community for people who are pregnant and parenting in crisis. You might be familiar with the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. At the Pregnancy Center, we find ourselves saying often, it takes a village to raise a parent. For that reason, our board this year has made an exciting decision to change our name to the Village Parenting Center to better reflect this expansion of our mission. There we are. It's the new logo. All right. Our new name, the Village Parenting Center, communicates a broader, more comprehensive commitment to these families who are in crisis. This commitment of support extends beyond the gestation of their pregnancy into the months and the years that follow, because we believe in creating a community where it's possible to continue with the pregnancy and thrive. I'd like to share a video with you now that gives you a glimpse into what this village looks like.
When you are living in a crisis, a simple kindness can make a world of difference. What once seemed insurmountable now feels possible. Because when practical needs are met, hope-filled futures can begin. It takes a village to raise a parent.
Thank you so much for having me today, for giving me the opportunity to share what's happening at the Pregnancy Center. As I wrap up my time, I just want to encourage you, there's many ways to participate in this work. We do accept donations of diapers, wipes, formula, and used children's clothing. We have wonderful volunteers at the Pregnancy Center. Marcia is one of our child-minding volunteers. Jane is another volunteer. She works at sorting clothing. We really do have the best volunteers, but there's always room for more. And as a small charity, we often say we are 8 people serving 800. And so your support is greatly appreciated as we continue this work in the community. Donations can always be made online. I have brought some material with me today as well. And finally, please pray for this work that we're doing. It's a complicated culture when it comes to women and choice and life, and we just value your prayers as we continue serving in the community. Thank you so much for having me.